I grew up in the Dominican Republic. I live in the US with an accent. So then I'm constantly reminded of this otherness, and a lot of it has to do with this imagination of faraway landscapes and how that idea of the tropical informs that construction of otherness. And then thinking of this place as being in relation to that history.
This is a project that has really kind of evolved from the container series that Joiri completed a couple years ago, where she was really thinking about the legacy of tourism and how that is informed by colonialism, essentially the way that a lot of settlers remade the Caribbean in their image, and the way in which we have these very kind of like static images that have come about of the Caribbean, the way that you see these kind of fixed poses, like the flipping back of the hair, the hand on the hip, and the way that has been used to kind of propel hyperconsumption. And we sort of use containers as a kind of jumping off point for thinking about the way in which, the natural world has really been sort of packaged and contained, or otherwise sort of tamed by things like Western botanical science and just sort of the larger colonial systems that we live in. And this kind of iteration of this work is also really thinking about a shedding of layers. What are the different spiritual and cultural associations that Indigenous and African diasporic and Caribbean people have with these plants, and kind of allowing the performers to riff on those qualities. Sometimes we have these more static moments. Sometimes we have things that are more playful. The more playful elements, for example, were evocative of sorrel, which is a plant that is fermented and used to make a very sort of celebratory drink across the Caribbean. It's associated often with carnival, so you have a lot more carnivalesque movements. So that's sort of one example of how this has kind of created a language of movement that Jonathan and the performers and Joiri have really kind of dreamed up and expanded on.